Shalom and welcome to Main Street. We're going to have the opportunity of meeting artist Avi Benor and author Talia Carner and her book, Jerusalem Maiden, and a biblical concert called Exaltation. And then, of course, Dennis Prager with his word of the day.
We'll be right back after this.
The book, Jerusalem Maiden, with Talia Carner, its author, is our JLTV correspondent, none other than Karen Aroni.
Talia Carner, publisher, author, 7th generation from Israel, what we call a Sabra, moved to the United States, worked for many magazines, then was publisher of Savvy Women's Magazine. She was the adjunct professor at Long Island Management School and a consultant to many Fortune 500 companies. Talia is now here to promote her new release, Jerusalem Maiden, which is in all bookstores, and it is released by HarperCollins. Talia, welcome. It is a great pleasure to have you here and to talk about Jerusalem Maiden.
Thank you so much, Karen, and it's a pleasure to be interviewed for JLTV.
Talia, you must be so excited. This is a heartfelt novel, and from what I understand, has a very important inner meaning to you because your grandmother was a great inspiration for this novel. Tell us a little bit about that inspiration.
My grandmother was an extraordinary artist who never actually acted upon her artistic abilities. She crocheted and knitted and embroidered beautifully. I mean, beyond amazing. We always laughed at the family that you could not put a plate on a tablecloth that she crocheted because each flower actually stood as a sculpture, soft sculpture. It was just like a tablecloth of sculptures.
Everything had its own purpose or something special to it.
So artistic, but you couldn't use it to eat upon. Sure. And yes, and I always felt that she should never had married and had children. I would not have come along and spoken to you today if my grandmother had really pursued her real calling, and that is to live a bohemian life in Paris. First time I went to Paris at the age of 16, I was sent by my high school. I went to a French high school in Israel, and I walked in Montmartre and in Montparnasse. At that time, it was before Montparnasse had been grazed and rebuilt. I felt that this was where my grandmother belonged, and this is where she should have lived and become an artist. Interestingly, my own mother eventually became a very successful artist.
And do you think that's because they felt that their job was to be the wife and the mother and take care of the children and take care of others until they actually can pursue their own interests and passions?
I don't think it's because what they felt. What they felt was that they wanted to pursue their callings. I think that society did not allow them. My mother, when she was in kindergarten, she tells me the stories that she was punished when all she wanted to do was draw instead of play with other children. So she was being locked in the principal's office until she would agree to stop painting and drawing. So yes, it was not their choices, and that society, specifically what I looked into Jerusalem Maiden, I looked into the society of ultra-religious Jerusalem. At the time, my protagonist was born the same year as my grandmother, and I looked into the more extreme society form of religious oppression, what the group that eventually became Neturei Karta. To be fair to my grandmother and her family, they did not live in that squalor and that backward environment, but in many ways it was very close because under the Ottoman Empire that ruled the Holy Land at the time, there was no electricity, no running water, no sanitary conditions, no governance for 400 years since biblical, and even since biblical times, roads have not been paved. There was a very poor governance and part of the Ottoman Empire. So in many respects, even though who may have been better off, we're not really better off. At any rate, my protagonist grows up in that society where she's destined to get married very shortly and bear children in order to hasten the Messiah's arrival. But she discovers this extraordinary talent for art when her teacher at Evelina de Rothschild School, a school that was very known and somewhat progressive for the time, only a handful of girls were even permitted to attend it. And she gets those colored pencils, and her love and passion for art is reawakened or awakened. However, it's against the second commandment. No visual expression is allowed. Thou shalt not make any graven images. And Esther, my protagonist, begins a lifelong struggle between herself and God. At this point, I departed from my grandmother's life, and I was running off with my protagonist in a what-if type of story of my grandmother. It's completely an alternative life. Had she tried to rebel, had she tried to bolt and try to search for that passion that she had. I ended up writing Jerusalem Maiden as a what-if alternative life for my grandmother's life. What if she had tried to break away and find their own way and follow her passions and her heart.
Thank you so much, Talia. It's been wonderful. I want to let everyone know, Jerusalem Maiden, it is released in all bookstores by HarperCollins. Please read it. It's absolutely wonderful, and it deals with such an important topic in our world. Thank you very much. This is Karen Aroni with JLTV.
Thank you, Talia. Thank you, Karen. We'll be back with Dennis Prager, his word of the day after this to close things off. Stand by. And now, closing off our Main Street program today, here's Dennis Prager and his word of the day. Dennis on a word. JLTV presents Dennis Prager with his very own definition. Let's right now give Dennis the word.
Typewriter. Oh, I'll tell you exactly what comes to my mind. My grandfather, may he rest in peace. There's a Jewish tradition that on Passover, to keep the little children awake at the very, 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 very long Seder meal. The Seder is the special meals just for Passover. There's a custom among many Jews that the child will take a part of one of the matzahs, the special food eaten on Passover. The parent hides it, the father usually is the one, hides it, the kid, quote unquote, steals it, and then in order to complete the Seder, the parent has to buy it back. And so you buy it back with a gift. And my grandfather was usually the person because he was the patriarch at the Seder. So I asked, frankly, for the moon. You know, what could he say? No? Fine. So one year I was, I think, 13 or 14. And I said, I want a typewriter. And he gave me that typewriter and changed my life because I wrote and I typed and I typed and I typed. That typewriter changed my life. It made my writing possible. And the color, are you ready? Lime green. I had a lime green typewriter. Did you?